ancient world, the act of sacrifice was much more than a mere ritual. It was believed to be the most powerful way to communicate with the gods. Imagine stepping into the heart of a forgotten temple, where the scent of blood hangs thick in the air and the sound of desperate cries echoes off the stone walls. Here, human life was offered in hopes of divine favor, and the gods' thirst for blood seemed insatiable. Let us begin in the towering city of Tenochtitlan, the heart of the mighty Aztec Empire. High above the ground, at the top of their grand pyramids, thousands of people would gather to witness a terrifying spectacle. It is said that during a festival to honor the god Huitzilopochtli, over 80,000 people were sacrificed over the span of 4 days. The high priest, adorned in feathers and gold, would plunge his obsidian blade into the chest of the victim, tearing out the still beating heart and offering it to the gods. The body, now lifeless, was cast down the steep temple stairs, leaving behind a trail of blood. The air was thick with the stench of death, and the crowd below watched in awe and terror, believing that only such acts of devotion could keep the sun from falling out of the sky. To the Aztecs, these sacrifices were necessary, ensuring that the cosmic balance remained intact. But they were not alone in their devotion to blood. Far to the north, in the dense forests of Europe, the ancient Celts practiced their own dark rituals. Druid priests cloaked in mystery would gather around sacred oak trees to offer human lives to their gods. Unlike the public displays of the Aztecs, these sacrifices were done in the quiet of the forest, away from the prying eyes of the villages. The chosen victims were often warriors, tied to wooden posts, their throats slit in a silent plea to the gods for victory in battle. Their blood would seep into the earth, believed to nourish the land and ensure fertility for the coming harvest. The ground, now soaked with life, was thought to be blessed by the gods themselves. Across the Atlantic, on the steep slopes of the Andes Mountains, the Inca civilization carried out sacrifices that were equally chilling, but perhaps even more disturbing. The Incas believed that the gods demanded purity, and who was purer than a child? In a ritual known as capacocha, young children were chosen for sacrifice. They were dressed in fine clothes, adorned with gold and jewels, and taken to the highest peaks of the Andes, where the air was thin and the cold was brutal. These children were given a drink to numb their senses, and then they were left to freeze to death on the mountaintop, their small bodies slowly succumbing to the elements. In other cases, they were killed with a single swift blow to the head. These sacrifices were meant to appease the mountain gods and ensure the prosperity of the empire. To this day, the frozen bodies of these children have been discovered, perfectly preserved by the cold, their faces still bearing the innocent expressions they wore in their final moments. But perhaps the most horrifying sacrifices took place in ancient Carthage. The Carthaginians worshipped a god named Baal-Hamon, and it is whispered that he demanded the lives of children. In a macabre ritual, these innocent lives were offered to Baal by placing them in the outstretched arms of a bronze statue. As the fires beneath the statue grew hotter, the metal would heat up, and the children would be burned alive. Their anguished screams were drowned out by the beating of drums, ensuring that the sound of their suffering would not reach the ears of the community. This ritual was meant to secure the favor of Baal-Hamon, especially in times of war or famine. The sight of these small, innocent bodies being consumed by flames was a testament to the lengths people would go to in order to curry favor with their gods. In the land of the pharaohs, sacrifices were rare, but when they occurred, they were unforgettable. Ancient Egyptians believed their pharaohs were gods in human form, and upon their deaths, the journey to the afterlife was a grand affair. But the pharaohs did not travel alone. Hundreds of servants were sacrificed and buried alongside their ruler to serve him in the next world. These servants, considered blessed, were often given poison or were buried alive, locked in the tombs that would become their eternal prison. Imagine the final moments of these individuals as the stone doors sealed shut, the air growing thin, and the cold realization setting in that they would never leave this place alive. Their cries would go unheard, their bodies forever trapped in the dark, cold tomb with their master. In ancient Japan, there was a practice that was both personal and terrifyingly intimate. Known as hitobashira, or human pillar, This ritual involved the burial of a live person within the foundations of buildings or bridges. The Japanese believed that by sacrificing a person in this way, the gods would protect the structure from disasters and ensure its longevity. The unfortunate victim, often chosen for their innocence or purity, would be walled into the structure, left to die slowly as the building was completed around them. Their spirit, it was believed, would then guard the structure, watching over it for eternity. These poor souls were entombed in darkness, their final breath taken in a prison of stone, forever alone. Even today, whispers of human sacrifices persist in some remote parts of the world. Secret cults and underground societies are said to carry out these ancient rituals in hidden chambers, offering human lives in exchange for power, wealth, or supernatural favor. While we may never know the full extent of these practices, one thing is clear. Throughout history, the belief in the power of sacrifice has driven people to unspeakable acts of cruelty. As we stand on the edge of this dark history, one question remains. What kind of belief could compel someone to offer the life of another to the gods? Was it pure fear, unwavering faith, or perhaps a desperate desire to control forces beyond human comprehension? These sacrifices, shrouded in mystery and blood, serve as chilling reminders of the lengths humanity has gone to in its search for divine favor. And though the altars may have crumbled and the temples fallen to ruin, the echoes of those sacrifices still haunt us, whispering from the past, reminding us of the darkness that once walked among us.